Welcome to Wisdom Journey. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. Today's guest is Derek Hales, founder and editor-in-chief of NapLab.com. With over 10 years of mattress testing experience and more than 410 mattresses rigorously reviewed through objective, data-driven methods, Derek has helped millions find their deep sleep solution. He's been featured on ABC's Tamron Hall, CBS News, Freakonomics, and more. In today's episode, we'll get to ask him questions about building a digital brand like NapLab and how he hires and the team behind this company. Yeah. One of the things you say is that you started testing mattresses out of necessity. What made you realize this could be a business?
The whole thing kind of started really just by accident. My wife and I needed a mattress. We went through the whole sort of in-store experience, and I got to the end of that experience having tried some beds in store and tried some online beds, returned them, tried another one. We had one that we kind of liked, and we really just kind of threw this website up with my reviews and comparisons on the mattresses and my sort of shopping notes as just kind of like a fun hobby project for the weekend. But it really struck a chord clearly with a lot of people. We were getting huge amounts of traffic immediately, and already we're making money from it within just the first few days. And it didn't take very many weeks to start to think, okay, yeah, this could actually be something here. Clearly, this is something people want and need, and it's something that I'm pretty good at doing. So right away, it was abundantly clear that this could be something that I could do full time.
Yeah. Walk us through how you actually make money. Is it all affiliate links, or are there hidden revenue streams?
It's pretty much all affiliate and referral links. So someone comes to our site or comes to our YouTube channel, they watch a review, they read a review, they click our links, and if they make a purchase, then we may earn a small percentage of that purchase. We do make a little bit of money from advertising on YouTube, but it's very small compared to the referral link. So that it really is just as simple as that.
You are, how would I say, lucky or fortunate enough to be in an industry that the cost of the product you're reviewing is quite expensive, which means the commission is quite expensive. What's the average of percentage of the commission you tend to get for the products you review?
Unfortunately, I can't say. Almost every single brand we work with forces me to sign an NDA, and one of the very cheap things they say is I can't talk about the commission rates on that. So I'm sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Okay, but you can share the average price of what the mattress cost, right?
Sure. So I mean, most mattresses that we test, I would say, are in the $1,000 to $2,000 range. I believe the average out of everything we've tested is something like $1,380. So to your earlier question and point, definitely this is a more expensive product. It's a product that lasts for 8 to 10 years, or at least it's supposed to. And so brands are really trying to put enough sort of material components in the right design so that these things can last the number of years that people expect.
Yeah, and of course, even though we're not talking about the specifics of what the percentage might be, but since it's about maybe $1,400, if it's probably maybe, just for example, if it's 10%, it's way bigger than if it was a product of maybe $200 or maybe $100, and then it's 10% of that product.
Definitely, exactly. And so I think anytime you're working in an advertising space, or you're doing reviews and referral links, and you're doing more expensive products, I think it does become a lot easier, just because what you're doing is more expensive, and so you have a little bit more room to work with, which I think definitely helps to for us to create the level of quality in terms of how deep we're able to go for reviews and our video production, and really make everything to the highest possible level that we can.
Yeah. There are countless types of content one could make in the industry. What type of content would you say convert best? Is it comparison, best of, or single reviews?
It's all sort of, I think, part of the funnel, I guess, if you will. And so it really depends on what a customer is looking for. So we do reviews, we do comparisons, we do best of, we do educational, we do video of all those types as well. So I think different shoppers are looking for different things, and I think each of them can convert. The person that's doing a comparison, mattress A versus mattress B, they have a pretty good idea of what they are going to buy. They generally have it narrowed down to one or two brands or one or two models, and now they're just sort of looking to see if kind of push in one direction based on, what our comparison says. Somebody that's, looking for a best of list, I think is a little bit earlier in the sort of research stage usually, just trying to sort of get a good idea of sort of what's out there. And then I think kind of lastly, people that are looking for individual reviews are kind of similar to people who are doing comparisons. Usually by the time you're searching for individual reviews, you probably have a pretty good idea of what you're going to buy, and just looking to sort of be confirmed that, okay, yeah, this sounds like it's going to meet my needs, or yes, I wanted to see that its performance is, going to work out in these areas. As far as really specific sort of conversion rates based on content, I don't have the exact data because we just don't track at that level. In my view, I take kind of a more holistic approach instead of trying to focus on, this particular content type converts best. I really don't think much about conversion. I'm really focused more on, I want to be able to sort of fill every need for the entire sort of experience as someone shopping for a mattress. So if I'm beginning my mattress shopping journey, I probably will begin with the best of search, and I'll do that in Google, and I'll sort of get a list of the things that look interesting, and maybe I'll dig into a few of those with some reviews, and maybe I finally narrow that down to just two brands, and I do my comparison search. So I think being able to have sort of all of the information that a customer is potentially looking for, no matter where they are in their sort of shopping journey, makes the most sense to just make sure we're always delivering the types of content that people are looking for.
So your idea is to get to answer or possibly answer all the questions that the customer is asking before they buy.
Exactly.
Yeah. One of the products you review, right, on NapLab, it's quite expensive, and the more expensive it is, the more the level of trust it demands for someone to listen to what you're saying. So what would you say has helped you to build credibility, right? So people buy based on your own recommendations.
I think the big thing for us has just been sort of a radical level of transparency in terms of what we're doing, our editorial policies, our testing policies, our scoring procedures. We don't hide anything. We talk about exactly what we're doing, how we do it, and why we do it this way. I write it out in plain English in exhaustive explanations for every single testing category, every single facet, figure, data, and piece of measurement on the site, because I want people to understand exactly what we're doing. And I think it builds trust because it's so uncommon. Unfortunately, product reviews is an area on the internet that has become really full of a lot of, scams and spams and manipulated content, artificial content, sponsored content, paid content. It really can be a nasty place. And I think readers and viewers are right to be really skeptical. And so my approach has just really been like, look, we're going to say exactly what we're doing at every level. We are going to test things at such a level of sort of data and objectivity and depth that we're just beyond reproach, that people don't need to sort of worry or wonder about what we're doing. They can see the extreme lengths to which we go to create these tests and reviews. And I think when they see the sort of totality of our work in combination with sort of our level of transparency and disclosure, that it imparts a lot of trust, and certainly far more trust than what is typical in the world of product reviews.
Yeah. I don't know if it's possible, but for those listening, what would you say? Now, I know that you might not be able to go into the specifics, but if you had to give a ballpark idea, what would you say the business is? Is it a 5-figure business, a 6-figure business, or 7-figure business?
I really can't talk the exact numbers. I could say we are what I would describe as a small to medium-sized business. We have 5 full-time employees and 2 to 3 video editor contractors that work part-time to help us support our work, and everybody is able to make a good living. But unfortunately, I can't really say as far as the specific financial numbers.
Yeah, I totally understand. Well, was video always part of your strategy, or was it something you needed to add, like YouTube and other stuff? Or has it always been there from day one?
No, it's always been there from day one. Even going back to our earliest days in 2014, I had, my wife holding a cell phone in the corner of our bedroom as I sort of talk through the mattress. And certainly over the years, we've gotten a lot more sophisticated with our equipment and our production and our editing, and the way that we create videos. But it's always been essential, and it's one of those things that's always evolving, our level of expertise and professionalism, and then just sort of what people expect and want in the review. So we've always had, and we've always tried to, again, just continually evolve and improve that content to make sure we're always giving people what they want.
Yeah. Okay. The site has been around for, I think, over around 11 years, right? Right.
My earliest mattress site started in 2014. NapLab didn't get it started until 2021. We're coming on 4 years for it.
Oh, so what was the earliest site?
My earliest site was a site called sleepopolis.com. So I ran that site for about 3 years, and I ended up selling that site and was out of the world of mattresses for a few years, and then got back in 2021.
If I heard you correctly, you said Sleep Optimist.
Sleepopolis, Opolis. So it's still out there, and they're still doing tests and reviews as well.
Okay. Out of curiosity, did you buy NapLab at like regular when you wanted to buy the domain NapLab? Was it available, or was it one of those domains you had to like haggle with someone who had bought it?
Yeah, it was not available. Unfortunately, it was like a domain squatter was sitting on it, so we had to pay a premium. If memory serves correct, it was something like $4,000.
Oh, because when I saw the name, I was like, wow, this is such a brandable, straightforward name. And it's so obvious and clear what the site is about. NapLab. It's all about sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it pained me to fork over $4K to a domain squatter, but at the same time, we needed something, again, that we could build a brand around. And to your point, it was so immediately clear, immediately intuitive, that it felt like it was worth the cost to be able to get something that we could really build a brand around and build something that was truly memorable.
Yeah, I mean that's not exactly. It's not a privilege that really really small businesses have. Fortunately for you, you've grown to a level where you could cover out $4,000. Well, if you're just starting out, that's not exactly an amount you can spare.
Yeah, and I wouldn't recommend that for most people starting there. We were fortunate in that, I had other businesses that were doing well. I was able to, we had the cash to spare basically to invest in it. But if you're starting out, I mean, certainly you need a domain name that is brandable, that is memorable, but it's also one of those things that you can start with a particular domain, something that is maybe kind of similar to the broader brand that you're thinking of, and shift over time. When I first started my first website with Sleepopolis, the domain was initially sleepopolis-mattress-reviews.com. Terrible domain. And so we were on that for something like 6 months. And then I was able to get the sleepopolis.com domain, and we were able to migrate. It didn't cost me nearly $4,000. I can't remember what we paid for that, but it wasn't a ton. In any case, my point is, just don't feel, if you're a new business, or don't feel compelled to buy a super expensive domain. Know that you can start with something that's maybe on a different top level domain that's a little bit less common, but still has your brand. And then maybe when you're ready, you make the leap and purchase, the more expensive .com.
Yeah, like you can always change the name.
Exactly.
Yeah. Your site is on WordPress, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. I don't know how comfortable you are, but I'd love to like get a sneak peek on some of the tools, the tech stack you use to run the business.
Yeah, sure. any specific areas, or you just want me to start sort of working through them?
Okay, let's start with like in order of importance in terms of the tools.
Sure. So, I mean, certainly the foundational tool is WordPress. It's the CMS. It powers everything. I've been building on WordPress really since I was just a kid. You know, I've 20 years or so of experience at this point. And I've seen the platform grow and improve. And it is as strong today as it's ever been. So, we have sort of beyond WordPress, sort of the functional plugins. And I think the greatest asset of WordPress are those plugins. There are a ton of plugins that do a ton of stuff that are free. And then there is a huge library of paid plugins as well. Some of those can get kind of expensive, but many of those are relatively inexpensive. And so I think Yoast is got to be up there as one of our most critical plugins that does sort of, site-wide SEO as well as page-level SEO across WordPress. Super easy to use, super easy to set up. We also use a plugin to sort of manage and improve performance. In fact, several plugins. One of those is called Imagify. It does basically image compression sort of on the fly. There's a bunch of different types of plugins that do that. They all kind of do the same thing. I've used Imagify for many years now and been generally happy with it. We use a plugin called Perf Matters. Performance Matters. And it basically just supercharges the sort of caching and page load speed and general performance of WordPress. WordPress Fastest Cache is another one. WordPress 3C Total Cache is another popular one. I've used a bunch of different ones over the years and ultimately decided that Perf Matters feels like the best, lightest weight to get the sort of level of performance that we need. WordPress Search and its sort of companion plugin, Live Ajax Search, is super valuable and dramatically improves internal site search functionality for users, improves the front end. I will note, be careful with some of their add-ons, particularly their metrics plugin. And this is, I think, more broad with WordPress. You want to be cautious with plugins. It's not necessarily that we need less plugins, because some plugins are super lightweight and they don't really add any bloat to WordPress, but some plugins will really slow the site down and can really just bring the site to its knees, quite frankly. Unfortunately, one of the add-ons within that WordPress search tool, the metrics add-on, was just crushing my site. It was just the tables were just getting so big and we're getting so many internal searches that it couldn't function. And it was basically breaking due to super long response times, which was causing all sort of issues and outages across the site. So I think those are probably the most critical plugins for WordPress. There are plenty of others we could talk about.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd talk about some of the plugins used for like managing the affiliates, links, and all those things, right?
Yes. So for referral links, the only plugin that we use is Pretty Links. And it basically is just a super easy way to turn sort of an ugly tracking link that's super long and looks bad into something that is pretty. And so instead of a big, long, ugly tracking link, we have, naplab.com/go/name of the mattress. That plugin has a lot of functionality with some paid premium features. We don't use them. I haven't found them particularly helpful because all I'm really looking for is just a way to put those beyond sort of into a vanity link. Makes it easy to then quickly update that link if we ever need to. Again, I know there are more complicated ways to do it, but I think a lot of those have drawbacks when it comes to performance. And at least for me, I haven't found any of the additional features are worth that trade-off in terms of performance and complexity.
Yeah, if we were to step away from WordPress a bit, when it comes to managing the team and communication, organizing the business as a whole, not just the website, what softwares, tools do you use?
So for us, Google Sheets is really our daily driver. And so we are very fortunate and blessed that my wife is an absolute genius at all things Excel. And so Over the years, she has basically built us a sort of project management sort of dashboard. We call it our workflows sort of Google Sheet. And essentially, it allows us to go in there. Anytime we have a new piece of content entering our queue, we add that. And then there's just a huge series of drop downs. And as they are marked complete by myself and other members on our team, the owner of the task changes. And so we test a lot of mattresses over the course of a year. But one person doesn't do everything. Instead, these sort of processes are split across the team. So I have, people that do the testing, people that do the photography, people that do the videography. I write the analysis. One of my editors sort of assembles things together. And so we're each sort of doing a little piece of the process, and having Google Sheets there to sort of manage that workflow has been really convenient and easy for us. I've looked at some other platforms. I think ClickUp is a really, really interesting one. And if we weren't using Google Sheets to do this process, I would probably use ClickUp or something like it. But for us, again, I'm a big believer in keeping it as simple as possible. And Google Sheets allows us to do that.
Yeah. I think, what would you say are kind of like the three core things that took the business from something that you and your wife were just handling back in the days to now a business that has helped a lot of persons and has its own employees? To what would be like the three key decisions you made that changed everything from just this my own personal side thing to now, okay, this is a legit mainstream business?
Yeah, so I think the first thing has got to be just luck or otherwise put timing. We started in 2014 when there was something like 1% of mattresses in the U.S. are being sold online, and there were only 4 major mattress brands at the time selling online. Fast forward to 2015, we had 50 brands selling online. In 2016, there's 200. Now, today, there's something like, 50% of mattresses in the U.S. are sold online. So in, 10, 11 years, that is a huge amount of growth. So as much as I want to say that, we were, super geniuses and did all this stuff, so much of it just came down to really good timing, sort of right place at the right time with the right skills. That really set the stage to allow us to just operate at a much sort of higher end professional level immediately. So the first site that I started was sort of September 2014. And by September of 2015, we were hiring our first employee. And a year later, we hired our second employee. And so pretty quickly, we just exceeded what sort of my wife and I were able to do by ourselves. As far as like any particular decision we made, I think maybe the other big decision would just be a willingness to go all in fairly early. When I started the site in September of 2014, it was still working full-time at a marketing agency, sort of corporate type job. I was very ready for a change. And so, it didn't take a whole lot of sort of push to get me to walk out the door and try this. But in any case, I still did need to be able to make that leap. And so that February of 2015, I stopped sort of, doing things in tandem and just went all in full time with the world of mattresses. And so I think that's got to be the other big thing that helped help us get to a really strong place really early. Is just if you're able to go all in on your side hustle, if you really think it can be a big thing, being able to dedicate as much of your time as possible to it is always going to help.
You made mention of the fact that you decided one of the key levers of the business and the growth was the fact that early on you decided to go all in. Could you, in your own context, in the context of this conversation, what did it mean for you to go all in? What was the specific stuff you did to go all in?
Well, sir, I think the biggest thing is I quit my job. So 6 months after starting the website, I said, all right, this is making enough money and I have enough money saved that I want to take a real run at this. And the only way for me to do that was to be able to work on it full time. And so being able to, again, put all my time and attention And also, having been able be ready to commit for an extended period of time as well. When I quit my job working sort of in corporate America, I had sort of told myself, all right, no matter what happens, even if this thing drops off in the next month or two or three, I'm going to commit to doing this for at least 1 year, because I didn't want some sort of short-term seasonal sort of shakeup to cause me to miss something big. And I knew if I didn't take the chance to really try and build a business and build this website, that I would just always regret it. So I think just at least for me, going all in was quitting my day job and spending all my time on this, and really committing to giving it a try for at least that year.
Yeah, yeah. Apart from the fact that you went all in, one or the other thing that kind of like made the business grow significantly from what it was to something else was the fact that you hired team members to work on a couple of things. For me, the question I want to ask is, when did you know it was the right time to hire?
For me, kind of for better or worse, I really like working with people I already know and trust, even if they aren't sort of the consummate experts in the field. So my first hire was my cousin. He had just finished graduating from school in Florida, and I was able to convince him to move out to Arizona to come work with me. And it's amazing to work with family, but it also is a bit risky feeling, because if something happens with the business, it's not just myself and my wife that are hurt. Now it's friends and family and people I really love and care about. So I sort of say that background story. Just when did I know it was the right time? When I felt like we had an ample financial cushions. We didn't hire anybody until we had enough cash flow to cover sort of all the business expenses and my own kind of salary and the salary of this new person. Plus, I always made a point to basically keep at least 1 year's worth of payroll just sitting in our checkbook, because I never wanted some sort of short-term shock to mean we had to cut back or lay somebody off. So we always have operated with a really healthy just cushion of cash, so that, again, if anything happens, we're okay. And it just gives me a lot of sort of confidence then to hire people, knowing that I'm not going to, totally mess up their financial lives if something goes wrong, or I make a mistake, or something happens that causes the business to shake up for a while.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. One of the difference between this business which you do is the fact that it's different from traditional businesses. So for me, how did you define the roles when it came to hiring a team? Because how did you know, okay, this is the role? Because for a business like yours, it's not exactly like a normal business where you have traditional roles that say, okay, I need someone here, I need someone here. It's a bit different.
Yeah. It's a good question, and I think honestly, it's something we're still figuring out. In the earliest days, there weren't really super defined roles. Quite frankly, because the business was evolving and changing so quickly, and the industry was evolving, and what people expected from reviews and videos was evolving and changing, that we needed to be able to quickly change and adapt with it. So everybody that's worked, with me over the years has often had to wear multiple hats. As I too wear many different hats. I'm a writer, I'm a tester, I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer, but I'm also a video host and a VP of operations and a manager and a bookkeeper and all of these other things. Now, as the company has gotten bigger, especially over the last 4 years or so, we've been able to define roles a little bit better, where we have sort of, one of our team members focuses more on handling kind of all things video. So he is sort of, managing our contract editors who do the editing. He's sort of managing sort of the production workflow as things go into YouTube to make sure they get uploaded, and titles and descriptions and tags and thumbnails and all that stuff get done in the right place. But he's also a filmer as well. He's the man behind the camera, but he does a lot of the video stuff. The kind of the same end, my wife's kind of taken on sort of managing sort of all of these sort of financials and bookkeeping and taxes and organizational and administrative stuff. My sister, who works with us, she is kind of our, content editor, really. She is all the sort of stuff that goes into a individual page on WordPress. She is managing. Some of that stuff she's writing herself, but a lot of that stuff she's taking things that I've written. She's taking things that our other sort of designers have created as far as photographs or graphics. She's taking things that our video team have created, and she's combining all of that. So she's really kind of our on-site editor, making sure that all of the individual assets and content and writing and videos end up in the correct place, and they're correctly formatted, and everything looks beautiful, and it's easy to read and easy to work with.
Yeah. The question at the very beginning when you first hired, did they have these skills or did you have to like train them?
I had to train them. So my very first hire, my cousin Chris, again, he had just graduated from college, super smart kid. He had, all of the sort of foundational knowledge that I needed, which was just, managed his way through college, had a decent background with, computers and tech and websites, so that anything he didn't know, I knew I could teach him. And most of our hires, honestly, have been that. They're people that, first and foremost, I like and trust and know. And so I've always been, I guess, a big believer in training people into the specific way that I try and create content, and I try and create our reviews and tests and process, because it's just, it allows us to get somebody that is just far more exacting to the needs of what we actually need.
Yeah. Could you share with us something that you did that almost tanked the business?
Something I did that almost tanked the business. I mean, the closest would be, we got unfortunately involved in a lawsuit in 2016. A company didn't like our review and then drug us into a federal lawsuit in the U.S. And so it was close. It was not good. It wasn't something we did, but it was something we had to deal with. Ultimately, we were able to settle the lawsuit and move on. But certainly, any small business owner, medium-sized business owner, if you're able to do everything you can to avoid lawsuits, you should.
Oh, I never knew that one could get sued for writing a review or posting a review online.
Yeah, nor did I. And it's there's been a lot written on the topic. So anybody that's interested can certainly look it up. I unfortunately really can't say very much about it, just due to the settlement agreement. It's coming out of that lawsuit has sort of left me more with the impression of, anybody can sue anybody for anything. Whether or not that lawsuit makes it all the way to court and they're victorious is another question. But you don't need to make it to court to sort of make your point with a lawsuit. And that point a lot of times is financial pain. So even if you are entirely in the right, you can be put in a really difficult situation financially just due to the nature and complexity of lawsuits in the U.S.
Yeah. One of the things that kind of like shook a lot of bloggers, a lot of businesses online was the Google F4 update. So I'd love to know how that affected your business, if it did.
We've been very fortunate in that we've survived kind of all of Google's major algorithmic updates over the years. Some have sort of, not really impacted us, and others have helped us. I know, a lot of creators out there really took a big hit. Google's volatility in the last 3 or 4 years has just been really relentless. And so I really feel for a lot of these content creators that they're trying to do the right things, and they're following Google's guidelines and really trying to create something that's amazing, and yet they still are getting hit by these. So it's really sad to see a lot of that in this space.
Yeah. Like I'm happy for you, Doug. A lot of businesses were just like obliterated, like they just vanished within twinkle of an eye, and that's not nice. It kind of allowed a lot of people to adapt and change and go out into other mediums and channels.
Absolutely, and I think looking at the changes from these algorithms in recent years, I think it's really sort of solidified in my mind that to be successful in the world of organic search, you have to be the ultimate expert. It's not enough to just sort of, be pretty good at a bunch of things. You need to have such a level of knowledge and expertise that your reviews, comparisons, best of videos, whatever it is, that it's just beyond anything else really on the market, because you're really going up against, major media houses and publications, often with teams of hundreds of people. And it's not enough to be as good as those, because you'll be just swallowed up by the ocean of competition of sites that are, just like that and better. So I think for solo entrepreneurs, small businesses, medium-sized business, you really have to just go so incredibly deep with your level of knowledge to be able to sort of cut through the noise.
Yeah, earlier we talked about how mattresses are kind of like averagely expensive products. But even at that, mattress is the kind of thing that people don't buy very often, especially when they get to buy the right mattress. It's one of those things that they buy and it lasts a very long time, maybe 10, depending on on the case. But it lasts for years before they even think about buying another one. So the question I have is, how do you guys leverage other ways, because the product is different. If you get a customer to buy now, they probably won't buy anything from you for quite a long time. Is that you guys are always looking for new persons to buy a mattress, or is there other ways you guys try to like leverage old time customers to get revenue?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and you're absolutely right. The sort of life cycle of this product is long. It should be 8 to 10 years. Now, a lot of times people buy mattresses that don't last that long, either because they bought something that wasn't as good and it only lasted 3, 4, or 5 years, or they've moved, or something happened to the mattress. It got stained, it got damaged. So, for a lot of customers, that life cycle ends up being a little bit quicker than the sort of intended or the ideal 8 to 10 years. I think then you sort of factor in sort of other times people make a mattress purchase for a kid or a parent or a relative, or maybe they're helping a friend or a neighbor, or they just need something for guest rooms. When you sort of factor in all of these, an individual sort of reader isn't really gone for 8 to 10 years. And a lot of cases, it can just be a year, 2 years, 3 years before one of these sort of, mattress purchasing events is coming up. So for us, we really want to just, when I say go the extra mile, it's just not enough. I want to leave every reader, every viewer just blown away by how over the top good the experience was, that they found a mattress that meet their needs and budget exactly, that they are just left with a strong memory and a reminder of how great things were with NapLab, so that when the next moment to buy a mattress comes up, that they're going to remember us. That when they're, out at a restaurant, they're talking with friends who need a new mattress, that they're going to recommend us to that friend. And so certainly a big part of that is just making sure that the experience on the site is amazing, that it's ridiculously fast, that every conceivable piece of content and review and comparison and best of an educational guide that they can imagine is there. And that if they reach out to us for a personalized mattress recommendation or specific questions and help, that they got a response, directly from me or somebody else on my team that was fast and helpful and polite and kind and everything and more that they expect it to be, so that when they've sort of, had this sort of complete experience with NapLab, that they remember and come back to us the next time that they're in need of a bed.
Yeah. I'd love to know. Right now, you have a team of 5 members, right? And how has your YouTube strategy changed over time, from when you were just running this thing with your wife, when your wife was both the video, the camera woman and everything, and and now you have a team of video editors, cameraman and all that. How has your YouTube strategy changed and evolved over time?
I think the biggest things are quantity and quality. In the beginning, our quality was bad. It was my wife freehanding a cell phone with lamplight in the corner, no script, just sort of freestyling it. As we got better, we upgraded our equipment. We got a tripod. We got lights. We started at least putting together some notes on what we were going to talk to. We had a little bit more structure. And then you fast forward, into our more recent videos. They are super structured and produced with a really refined and tight script, with videography equipment and lighting at the highest levels, so that we can make something that just looks ridiculously good. The second piece is just the quantity. We used to make a video every week or two, and now we're doing 4 15-minute videos a week. So without the team we couldn't do it. And so being able to, again, sort of spread sort of different parts of the workflow across a team of multiple people allows us the flexibility to create really high quality reviews and testing, but also do it at a level of multiple videos per week.
It's really exciting to know how things have evolved, and back then when you started with what you had, and now it makes sense for you to like have a team and hire and pay for studio professional equipment and all that. It all makes sense because now you can afford to do that, and it gets to save you time. So the return on investment pretty much adds up.
Exactly. It's it's an investment into the business and our future growth, but it's one I'm willing to make, because it's the one that our readers and our viewers expect. People expect a certain level of professionalism and production quality, not to mention just the quality of the tests and the reviews themselves. And so it takes a lot of time across our team to get there. But it's very worth it at the end. I think we look at the final product, and again, the feedback that we get on our videos, on our tests, on our photographs are always really strong. So I know that people like what we're creating.
Do you have an email list or newsletter, email strategy, something like that?
Unfortunately, no. I have tried sort of, newsletters and email lists over the years. I know a lot of people are really successful with them. But at least for me and this industry, I think it doesn't really make sense. When we were doing them more regularly, it seemed like the only thing people were really interested in was the giveaways. And I think this kind of has to speak with the sort of life cycle of the product, right? Nobody really wants to get an email from me once a week or even once a month on a product which at most they're buying once every, let's say, 3 years, right? And so I think for a lot of people, it doesn't make sense to really subscribe to a newsletter that's sort of nothing but mattresses. In some future world where we're doing a broader range of sleep products, I could see it might be more successful and more useful and interesting to our readers. But at least for now, it's not been especially successful, and it's not something worth doing.
Yeah. It very much makes sense. Probably maybe if you're in the sleep industry, it would have made sense to have an email list. That way, you just talk to people about their sleep. But since yours is just product focused, it doesn't really tie well into the email strategy.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
What's your take on paid traffic?
I know, again, a lot of people that are really successful with it. This is not paid traffic, and SEM is not an area that I have a lot of experience with. I've sort of tried it a few different times over the years and never been particularly successful. So, I just think for us, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and just it's not an area that we've been especially successful in.
Oh, okay. Other than YouTube and the blog, what's like the key marketing channels you use for the brand?
I mean, as far as key channels go, it's the website and YouTube. Other channels, include, social media. We're active across every platform, trying to make sure that anybody that's on TikTok or Threads or X or or Facebook or wherever else, that we are there with content in a format that makes sense for that platform, is going to be interesting to them. So of course, social media is a big one. We try and do targeted stuff on Reddit a few times a year. So if someone is there asking me specific questions, we'll be there to answer those. And then, we have just a more general sort of, broad sort of digital PR campaigns where, we try to present stuff that we think journalists and reporters might find interesting and then would want to write about, as a method of just making sure people sort of know that we exist and see the NapLab name kind of out in the wild, and will again remember us next time they're looking for a mattress.
Yeah. That's true. Has there like ever been a time when you reviewed a mattress and then you realized that the mattress did not have an affiliate program and you had to reach out to the mattress company to create an affiliate program for you?
Never a time where it's happened where it's been like a surprise to me. So, but there's definitely plenty of companies that don't. So I make a point to sort of look and see if they have one before we start. But whether or not a company has a program really doesn't change whether or not we test and review them. The thing we're just looking for is popularity. If our audience is looking for a particular review on a particular brand, a particular model, we want to make sure that we have that. But definitely, for brands that don't have programs, I've encouraged them to create them from time to time, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't.
The next question I want to ask is, when do you know it's time to like negotiate for a higher commission with the mattress companies?
When do I know? In general, we don't do really much negotiation at all. We inform the company what is sort of a normal rate, and then give them the freedom to do whatever that they feel is right for their business. Because we don't ever want to, quote unquote, negotiate a rate and that they think that they have then purchased something from us. So instead, we, again, give them the freedom to do whatever they want to do with a rate. And then we focus on our really sole job, which is testing and reviewing the mattress honestly, without bias. And then whatever the score that mattress gets, regardless of their rate, regardless of whether or not they have an affiliate program, whatever score they get is based entirely on the data and the tests, and nothing else.
Yeah, it makes sense. If someone has zero budget to test products, how would you recommend they start? Because coming from the mattress aspect, that's quite expensive.
Definitely. If you have no product for budget, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, I think there's just no other way to look at it. Product reviews are really, really challenging in today's world, because consumers and Google expect that you have the product in your possession, that you've physically examined, tested it in one or more ways, that you're creating unique photographs and or videos. And that really is the only way, I think, to create an honest, authentic product review that can perform. So the only way to get that is, unfortunately, by purchasing or otherwise getting a mattress or other sort of brand to send you the product, right, for testing. If you're not able to do that, and you still want to try and do something, I think you've got to look kind of at the metadata, the specs of whatever it is that you're testing. So most products, have, some type of, let's just call it metadata specs, things that are always objectively true about that product. And so for a lot of different, products, you could take that metadata, those specs, and create sort of a range of tools or a comparison engine or some type of quiz that would, again, take those things that are, again, always facts about the product, and then use that to create essentially an analysis of sorts. I think when you're able to do that, in addition to sort of, a real world product review that you put your hands on, it just, it's a 1 + 1 = 3. Everything is just so much better. But if you're determined to create, some type of product reviews, then and you're not able to sort of dive in with a budget yet, then your, I think, best approach to getting off the ground is going to be to focus more on that metadata.
Okay. What would you say is the fastest way to kind of like find profitable affiliate niches or outside of mattresses?
That's a good question. Certainly, I think if you look at the sort of industries that other people are successfully creating content in, that's usually a pretty good indicator. The more content that you see in a particular space, the more interest. Usually, that's going to be an area where there are good commissions and good interest from readers and viewers. That said, I would caution going out always after the most sort of popular categories. Something like, gaming or computers or tech, more broadly speaking, are always super fun. They're entertaining. They're interesting. People want to read that content a lot. But because of that, those industries are super competitive because there's just so many sites and publishers creating content on those topics. So I think finding something that you are sort of the consummate knowledge expert, or if you're not yet, that you could become one, is far more important than the specific product category. So look for, I think, product categories that are deep enough that you're able to do a lot of reviews. If a product category only has 5 major products, it's not very deep. You're not going to be able to do a whole lot in that space. But if it has hundreds of products, that's something where you can spend the time to become the ultimate expert in whatever product category it is. That's going to allow you to become like the singular ultimate knowledge expert. And really, it's becoming that knowledge expert that is sort of necessary to, I think, just sort of cut through the noise, cut through the competition, and kind of just carve out for yourself a little space, a little area where people know you exist, that they see you, that they want to read, they want to view your work, because otherwise you just end up in a space where it's just really hard to get seen.
Yeah. Just a couple of rapid fire questions. What would you say is the most overrated mattress trend right now?
The most overrated mattress trend, probably sort of nonsensical cooling marketing terms. Every mattress wants to be thought of as a cool mattress. And so you have a lot of brands sort of calling their fabrics and their foams, it's super ice and it's, glacier extreme and all these other, insane words. And sometimes they are apt and accurate, and like that mattress is legitimately a cool feeling mattress. But in a majority of cases, the marketing speak around cooling performance on mattresses is really over the top.
Well, what's the weirdest thing you've done to test a mattress?
The weirdest thing, probably taking a foam sample. So we took a serrated knife and cut a chunk of foam out, and then we measured that really tiny piece of foam really precisely, and then we weighed it with a really precise scale. All of this to sort of determine the exact density of the foam. Sort of foam quality is often determined by the density, which is essentially just how much foam is in that particular piece of foam. And so a lot of mattress brands are really cagey about not disclosing that information, usually because they're not using super good quality foams. And so we are wanting to basically add a density test to our mattresses. And to do that, the only way to really do it is to cut the foam, measure the size, measure the height, and then measure the weight, and then do a calculation. So that's probably the weirdest thing we've done.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all these insights and all that. What would you want the listener to take away from this episode?
I think the big thing is, if you are somebody that sort of has aspirations to be a content creator, to do product reviews, to do sort of anything digitally online, I would say don't be afraid to start. Just give it a go. Over the years, I've talked to so many friends, families, and colleagues and associates who have an idea. They want to do this, they want to do that, but they have just a hard time sort of getting off the starting block. And so many ideas just die right there at the starting line. So understand that you're not going to have all the answers, that you're going to make mistakes, that things are going to go, poorly, but just get started, be willing to make those mistakes, and I think you'll find, if like I did, that you'll make mistakes, but you'll learn far more than the mistakes you're making, and over time you can create something that I think you can be really proud of.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Where can listeners learn more about what you do?
So the best place to connect with me is over at naplab.com. That's NAPLAB.com. There we have all of our reviews, comparisons, best of guides, and a whole lot more. If you are in the market for a new mattress, we also have a mattress finder quiz there. Answer a few questions about your needs, preferences, and budget. That goes straight to me, and I send you back a personalized recommendation within 24 hours.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for coming on to this episode. I really learned a lot from, and I know my listeners will learn a lot too from your years of experience in affiliate marketing.
Well, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure. Fantastic questions. So thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom Journey, the podcast for content creators. If today's episode sparked ideas, subscribe and leave a review. Share it with a fellow creator who might benefit. Check the show notes for links and resources. If you'd like to support the show, buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/wisdomhq. Follow us on social media to stay connected. Until next time, keep creating and seeking wisdom in your journey.